Good morning, beautiful people. Today, you and I are going to talk about very specific details of 90s and 2000s aesthetic that is not like this. Grab your coffee, let's get started. Now, I did already make a very similar video to this, talking specifically about Gilmore Girls. Now, obviously, this is going to include some of that as well, because it is one of the iconic shows from the 90s, early 2000s vibes of things. But this video is going to have none of the details of that one. So if you want to find out those details, go watch that video. Starting at our ceiling now, of course, in TV shows, in movies, in the 90s, 2000s, even now times, I really don't feel like we really see that much of ceilings. But let's just imagine, if we will, for a second, that you can zoom up, you can angle up and see the ceiling. And I really think in a lot of those shows, there would be what I have found out is called a ceiling medallion. The thing I really do like about ceiling medallions is detail. It feels like a time that felt more eclectic in nature of the home decor that they had. And I feel like we've been living a lot in either the gray square or the beige square, which obviously there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're looking more for that nostalgic, warm feel of things, honestly, I have, especially after this video and all the details and research that I've done, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna paint this room. Our final aspect of the ceiling as part of the home decor 90s, early 2000s vibe, I think is also to potentially paint the ceiling. Now, 90s, 2000s does have a lot of colors involved in it. Rachel and Monica's apartment, which we'll talk about coming up next. But specifically with the ceiling, I think you can have the opportunity to paint the ceiling the same color as the walls. And that way, when you kind of look at the room, it feels very cohesive. Not that like a white ceiling wouldn't be cohesive, that basic ceiling color. I have noticed in a lot of like newer homes, they have the walls and the ceiling being the same color, but unfortunately, a lot of them are what this wall is, which is agreeable gray. It is not agreeable to me. I am not a fan. Moving on to walls specifically, I do have a detail of this in that previous video, but the details that we're going to talk about is very much so color focused. Now, in doing a lot of research about the different colors that are involved in the 90s, 2000s homes, I noticed the ones that I was most drawn to were ones that had warm undertones. The yellows, or kind of almost, maybe not red specifically, but yellows, that is everywhere. Get ready for me to get a little bit too nerdy on this. But what I did is I took a photo of Lorelai Gilmore's house, could like hold and find the hexadecimal, I believe is what it's called, of that color. And then I went and I found the closest paint colors I could find. So this one and then this one are the two paint colors that I found that, according to the hexadecimal of it, are the closest I could find to Lorelai Gilmore's living room color. And after doing that, I noticed how many different living rooms, kitchens, a hobbit hole, all had a very light yellow, which again is the thing I'm thinking of painting this room, because it just has that warmth to it. And then when you add all of the layers on top of it and all the extra details of it, now maybe that's not one that I would necessarily want to bring to the ceiling, but I also think it could be pretty cool if you do that too. Overall, for wall colors, it's that, again, that warm undertone. Staying away from the blue undertones of things. Now, again, Monica and Rachel's apartment does have some of those cooler, I believe, undertones. That's where I kind of, to be honest with you, I get a little bit iffy about that, because to me it feels warm, but when I rewatch the show, I don't think of the girls' apartment being cold by any means, but I do believe it might have those cooler undertones, whereas Chandler and Joey's apartment has the warm, almost yellow that we're seeing in so many other areas during that time. So even if you're going to look at like whites for your house, checking to see what the undertones of that are is really important when it comes to your overall look and aesthetic and feel of your room. And again, check that in all different lightings. So check it in a daytime lighting, in an overhead lighting, to see what it really is going to change the feel and vibe of that color throughout the day. And you want to also, as like a quick tip, you want to put different paint swatches kind of as big as you can in different walls of the room, so that when the light hits, that just kind of shows you, no matter where you are in the room, the feel and vibe of that before you commit to painting the whole room. Now that we've painted the walls a warmer tone color, what are we going to add on top of those walls? Two things that I didn't say in the previous video is, one, I think a gallery wall, obviously, look behind me, but I think a gallery wall is really fun to have. It's just something where it's kind of the eclectic, the warmth, the like bringing joy into your space of different photos of family, friends. I think that's another thing that's kind of missed nowadays, just because, I don't know, in the time that we're in, you have to like really make the effort to print off photos, whereas previously if you were even going to see what the photo looked like, you had to print it off. So adding in your family photos back into your home decor, I think is a really fun way to make it 90s nostalgic, which is, again, it feels funny to say that, but I think just there's so many homes that are just missing, like who lives there? We don't know. It could be anybody. I think also having larger prints is something that a lot of people get very nervous about, but I noticed in a lot of the different homes of having a very large kind of statement piece. I do think there's kind of a loophole if you have one of the TVs or if you download one of the art pieces that you can kind of like have your TV look like art, if that makes sense. You know what I'm talking about. But having actual large pieces of art over your mantle fireplace area really gives it more of that homey, not so much TV focused vibe. Staying with the wall theme of things, the windows, one aspect of this I didn't even know that you could add to your own window is one of those window grids. It's something where it just adds a little bit more character to your home. I think that's something that tends to be missing from more modern homes is the character element of that. And anything that we can do if you're looking for that 90s 2000s nostalgic kind of vibe is adding those character elements back into it. Now these are a few different photos and a few different areas where I saw that throughout those. Now in the Friends, Monica and Rachel's apartment, that's kind of like a built-in into their window slash, I don't know, that's a pretty cool apartment. Obviously it's huge. Not a 90s New York City apartment, I would guess. But having that grid in the window just adds that little bit more of character. And also in the holiday, when she first walks into, my brain just glitched, I think it's Graham. When she first walks into his home and she looks to her right and her left, she looks to the right and she sees the kitchen at a different angle than we see later on when they're actually in the kitchen. And I really liked that door there that's kind of more of an architectural piece. Clearly you can walk around that, but adding character doors back in, adding a little bit of those elements, or even just painting your door can be an easy way to do that. But that one was more of a window door. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know all the details of like how to say things correctly, but I know the feeling and the vibes, and you know what, that's what we're here for. Adding something in like that in a walkway could be a really fun and unique element that makes it feel like you've lived in the place longer. Also, speaking of walls, a thing that I noticed obviously a lot in the 90s is wallpaper. And I think this is also a very easy renter-friendly way to do this. Of the new peel and stick wallpaper, I think is amazing. Diving in and adding it fully into your kitchen. I feel like a lot of times kitchens, especially in apartments, don't have that much wall space. So adding that in as all of the walls in your kitchen, I think could be like a really, really fun element that makes it unique to you, but also isn't super difficult to try to change or move back if when you're moving out, you're asked to paint all of that. Tabletop height things. We are finally also getting to discuss an item I really hope that you have seen and noticed is new to me, and it is this beautiful lamp. It is kind of honestly the inspiration for doing another video like this, because when I saw it, I immediately thought of the dragonfly, where it's also, I believe, in the Independence Inn as well, where on the desk, they have always like a stained glass lamp. And I thought it was just beautiful. I had never found one. I found this at a thrift store and I'm stoked about it. It's not dragonflies, but I'll take the butterflies. I think they're really pretty. And it's something that I think can add a lot of character while, again, being both renter friendly and just a beautiful piece to add into any room. Sticking on the lampshade aesthetic of things, a more traditional lampshade and not shying away from a fun color, a fun texture, I think is another way to have it be very nostalgic feeling, as opposed to the more just white, almost drum-like ones. And even the shape of the lampshade, having it more like flare out in the traditional way versus just the drum very straight, gives it more of that nostalgic 90s, 2000s vibes versus, again, that more just straight on modern lampshade. It just adds another layer that maybe your guests won't specifically notice, but I think the point of all of this is to add that feeling, that warmth and cozy feeling to your home, because as much as we want to have the home be nice for guests and that hospitality aspect of things, we also the ones having to live in it. So if we want that 90s, 2000s cozy, warm, almost Nancy Meyers-esque vibe to things, adding stained glass or a stained glass lamp, or just that, again, that traditional look of a lamp is a really easy way to do that. This is one element that I will say again in this that I said previously, please have warm. Again, we're looking for warm lights. We do not want, feels like we walked into the ER, very bright white lights. That just, I promise you, will not have you feel cozy in your home. If you were to just take a single element of this and enact it and have it be like a huge impact on your personal life, it is changing your light bulbs to warm lights. Sticking with the keeping away from the home build vibe of things, a very easy switch to make is to swap out lights. I don't know the exact way to do this myself, but there is TaskRabbits. There is a lot of people that are very skilled, and it is not that hard of something to do. Changing out those really ugly circle lights that just go to the ceiling, something that angles down instead of up, or something that angles more up depending on which area you're looking at versus down directly on you, it will change the vibe and the feel of the room. And it will also impact that wall color as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you're going to change out those lights. But having anything be more custom like that. And again, keep that lamp, because if you're renting and you want to just swap it out, you can just swap it back. It's a huge impact and not that aggressive of like a demo project to do. The final area of our 90s, 2000s vibe, warm, cozy Nancy Meyers-esque home is the floor. If you do have the luxury to pick your floor, picking something that is a warmer wood vinyl or warmer wood itself. I had one apartment, I still think about it, and it had original wood warm floors. So cozy. I promise you that is so much cozier than carpet, because what you can also do is add a rug. And when I say add a rug, don't be like season 1 Gilmore Girls and have the tiniest rugs known to man. They did eventually, especially in her room, in the Dragonfly, in all these places, they did add larger rugs eventually to it. But the rule of thumb that I've heard is having the first 2 feet of all of the furniture pieces in the room be on that rug has that more luxury vibe than having too small of a rug. It just gives kind of, you accidentally bought the rug feel, versus you are intentionally using this rug to add warmth to the room if it is a colder room. And you can even layer on top of carpet. You can layer rug on top of rug if you're wanting even more plush, or you want just kind of a border rug and then a smaller rug inside of that, if that makes sense. Or if you're hiding a cooler tone floor, that's a good way to add warmer tones into the room. If you have a floor that is just a grayish floor, or a floor that is a lot cooler of a tone, but you are looking to add warmth into that room, adding a larger rug on top of that really does kind of disguise a lot of that cooler, maybe a little bit more sterile feel and vibe to a floor. I guess it's not specifically floor, but it's not 100% counter height vibes, is putting a fabric underneath the cabinets. That's just a very nice way to hide the clutter that you don't want to show, but also have it add fabric back into the room and add just that bit more. I keep using the word cozy because that is what it is. Adding a fabric in there, and don't be afraid to mix fabrics and patterns and all of these things, because that kind of eclectic look is also something that we're going for. We're found these pieces over time, and a lot of times in those type of homes, that is how they got that feel and that vibe, is just finding different pieces that they love over time. And again, your house is for you, so if you love all of the different patterns, just do it. I say do it. I've noticed in bedding that something that I'm really enjoying is adding fun colors as pillows and kind of changing them out throughout the seasons brings just a little bit more fun and uniqueness to the bedroom. One thing that you'll notice, kind of a thread throughout this, it's kind of almost cottagey, but not 100%. But I feel like when we think about the Nancy Meyers, the early 2000s, it has some of those elements in it. And I think that's also where we can't be afraid to mix and match decor and design styles of things. So if you have maybe a more modern home, you can add more modern pieces into that. And that goes back to that eclectic, where maybe one of the pieces feels more modern, but one of the pieces is more of an antique. And it's just how we're layering those. And that's what creates that 90s and 2000s warm, cozy vibes aesthetic. If you have a 90s, 2000s warm, cozy vibes aesthetic home, please let me know what is something of your home that once you added it really just felt like your home, or really just felt very unique. And I will see you on the next video. Bye.